as man. A researcher by the name of A.W. Mellert considers the one on the left, KNM-ER1470, to be an ape, and the one on the right, the ZKD skull, to be a man. And an author I've become familiar with on the net by the name of David Menton considers the one on the left to be male, a man, and the one on the right to be an ape. So I'm getting confused by this because I've read 4 well-accredited creationist authors, 4 opinions that they have, and I get all 4 possible combinations of which one is an ape and which one is a man. If you read an essay by David Menton, a PhD scientist in Kansas City, Missouri, called The Scientific Evidence for the Origin of Man, very short essay, it says, there were only small eyebrow ridges, no crest, and a domed skull typical of a human. This is the one he's talking about. Indeed, it appeared to be a human skull. Walter Brown, on the other hand, whose book, In the Beginning, is available for sale over there, on page 12, states that this animal clearly had ape-like proportions and should never have been classified as man-like. So on Dr. Hovind's website, he sells Martin Lubinau's book, who states that both skulls are human, and Jack Cuozzo's book, who says both are apes. Now, I certainly believe in not exposing people to fraudulent information, but the problem is either that one's incorrect, or that one's incorrect, or both of them are incorrect. At least one of these must contain false information and therefore should not be placed into school libraries or used as discussion material in accordance with this law in Arkansas that they're trying to get passed. So what I'd like to know is what are the criteria by which you can decide whether one of these skulls belong to a member of the ape kind or a member of the mankind. And what I'll do is I'm going to unclip this for a moment. I'll move these over here to your table because I'd like, Dr. Hovind, if at all possible, that you show me exactly what features there are that enable us to say that such and such a fossil is an ape or that such and such is a man, because I've been getting different answers from different respected and credentialed writers in the scientific creation field. I would very much like to know what I should be teaching to my students when they ask about this. They're a pretty smart crew. They've heard of these skulls before. So I thank you very much. In just a minute, I'll bring these over to your table.
All right. The Bible says we are made in God's image. The textbooks teach the kids this is Grandpa, or something similar to this. We came from an ape-like ancestor. So what is the truth about the cavemen? Can an ape-like creature turn to a human? Okay. Well, I guess that depends on what you mean by caveman. Okay, there are many people who live in caves. Okay, Lot and his daughter lived in caves. Joshua hid the 5 kings hid in a cave. Osama bin Laden's the world's most wanted caveman right now. Every one of the so-called cavemen that is mentioned in the books has been demonstrated to be wrong. Nebraska man, for instance, built from one tooth, okay, later found to be the tooth of a pig. Piltdown man, a deliberate fraud, but it was in the textbooks for 40 years before it was proven that it was a fraud, okay? Over 500 papers, some PhD papers even, were written, dissertations on the Piltdown man, and it was a deliberate lie. Neanderthal man is still in textbooks today, yet it's been demonstrated years ago. Neanderthal man is just an old man with arthritis, okay, which is why he was bent over. The brains of Neanderthals are 13% bigger than ours. Many, many Neanderthals have been found. They have average height of 5'9", about the same as people today. Dr. Cuozzo, who's a friend of mine and is a dentist and had been studying what you said for 30-some years on the growth of the human face, did a great study on this. The Neanderthals were probably people who were living post-flood, right after the flood, when people still lived to be 400 years old after the flood. Because the Bible says after the flood they lived to be 400 for a few generations, and then 200, and then 100. The bones of your forehead never, actually the bones of your face never stop growing. And so the Neanderthals are probably post-flood people who are living to be 200 or 300 years old. I don't know. But they certainly are not subhuman. Their brain capacity is bigger than ours, okay? And the eyebrow ridge is simply an indication of great age, probably several hundred years old. Cro-Magnon man, modern in every respect, Australopithecus africanus is still in textbooks today as used as evidence for evolution, yet in 1973 it was demonstrated it could not possibly be evidence for evolution. Australopithecus afarensis, better known as Lucy, is in textbooks today. Lucy was 3 feet tall, found by Donald Johansen in 1974, Hadar Valley, Ethiopia. He said Lucy's becoming a human, particularly because of the knee joint. Well, the fact is there's quite a bit of controversy about that knee joint, and that knee joint, the one that was labeled Lucy's knee in National Geographic was not Lucy's knee. That one was found 1.5 miles away. So you need to get Tom Willis's website from csama.org, Creation Science Association of Mid-America in Kansas City, to get information about Lucy's knee joint. The femur was angled, and that was his evidence it's becoming a human. Well, the fact is monkeys that climb trees have angled femurs. Monkeys that walk on the ground have a straight femur. So it's not evidence. The way they word it in the textbooks, though, is deceitful. It will say it has ape-like features. You've all got hair. That's an ape-like feature. So's my dog, okay? They say Lucy's knee was slightly bigger than a regular ape. Doesn't prove a thing, okay? The bones of a Clydesdale are slightly bigger than a regular horse, okay? Doesn't prove it's becoming a truck. St. Louis Zoo has human feet on their wax figure of Lucy at the St. Louis Zoo. It's up there today. Not one foot bone was found, and every other Australopithecine that has been found had curled toes. They were knuckle walkers. But the zoo director, Bruce Carr, was told about this. He said, look, what you have up here is a complete misrepresentation. It's a lie. He said, zoo officials have no plans to knuckle under. We cannot be updating every exhibit based on every new piece of evidence. We look at the overall exhibit and the impression it creates. We think the overall impression this exhibit creates is correct. In other words, Bruce is saying it's okay to lie to students that come to our zoo because we think the impression that man evolved from an ape-like ancestor is right. Therefore, even though our statue's a lie, we're going to keep it up here because of the impression it gives to the kids. Now that guy ought to find an honest job picking peaches, and somebody in Missouri ought to help him. He does no business being involved in lying to kids. Charles Oxnard spent 16 years studying every single bone of Lucy with a computer multivariate analysis. He said, Lucy is not a missing link. It's just an unusual monkey, that's all. And there might be some still alive today. So Lucy is not a missing link. Peking man, all evidence disappeared, but that was used as evidence for evolution for many years. And yet, Peking man, what it amounted to was a bunch of monkey skulls that were smashed, found in a cave, and human tools found with them. So some brilliant guy in a government grant said, wow, these monkeys are learning to use tools. Hello, somebody's using the tools on the monkeys, you know. Some people like to eat monkey brains, watch Indiana Jones, okay? They hid the fact that they found 10 human skulls, or 10 human remains in the same cave. In the textbooks today is Homo erectus, which you referred to earlier, used to be called Java man, then changed the name to Pithecanthropus erectus, and now called Homo erectus, all the same creature. This was found, made from a few scraps of bone, in 1891 in Java, Indonesia, why it was called the Java man, by a Dutch anatomist, Dr. Dubois. He had gone to Indonesia to look for missing links. He loved the evolution theory. He believed in evolution very strongly, so he's not an unbiased observer, okay? He went to Indonesia to try to find a missing link. What he found was an ape's skull cap, 3 human teeth, and a thigh bone, which he found a year later 50 feet away, and it was obviously from a human, and he informed the world he had found the missing link. He hid the fact that he found a human skull in the same area, two human skulls in the same area. He put those skulls under his bed, under the floorboards, under his house. Kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, you know, the telltale heart. Only this was the telltale heads. He lied. And the fact that you're still using Java man as evidence for evolution indicates you need to study this a little further. Dr. Dubois was a liar, okay? There is no evidence of how man evolved.